Our culture is all about control. Who has it, how they got it, and what it takes to keep it. But is control a feeling or an agenda? My name is Siena Rose. This is the new Frontline. Let's talk about it. The illusion of control is a tricky one, and honestly, it's one of the oldest tricks in the union playbook. But before I dive into some specifics of the questions that I think we should really be asking about this topic, let's talk about a few more universal experiences. Have you ever worked somewhere that you were told that your voice mattered, but when you tried to speak up, it really didn't? Or maybe you were just outright ignored. What comes to mind for me are if there's ever been a workplace suggestion box that forever remains empty, or if there is things put in it, it's never actually checked. Or perhaps some discussion of a club democracy that's never actually left up to the people. What I'm talking about, and the idea that I want to dive into, isn't something that's confined to an adolescent experience, but rather it's a phenomenon that gets infinitely more complex as we get older. Gatekeeping democracy isn't so much a youthful mistake, but rather a deliberate abuse of power. Public sector unions often take steps to appear democratic, intentional steps to appear democratic. They factor in elections, votes, committees, various review-based or election-based positions. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, they still function hierarchically. There's little choice from the people at the end of the day, because there's still one person at the top of the union who can be there for as long as they like. Becky Pringle of the NEA has been president since 2020. Randy Weingarten of the AFT has been president since 2008, and Lee Saunders of AFSCME has been president since 2012, just to name a few examples. When it comes to voting in unions, specifically on where or what money is spent, the members of a union get no voice, even though leaders tout the importance of a collective voice and the affiliation of power that comes with joining your union, supposedly. The American Federation of Teachers, the AFT, like I mentioned earlier, has almost 2 million members that pay dues to them. And in 2023, their revenue from union dues was more than $280 million. Barring the fact that we already know that the AFT isn't going to actually use their money as they should, let's ask ourselves, how many times we think that they honestly approached their members and asked what their money, their dues money that they pay, should be spent on? The answer is 0 times. That happened approximately 0 times. The only thing a union should be doing is bargaining over the wages, benefits, and working conditions of their members. But if a union decided to spend money on something else, you'd hope in some shape or form that it would be to support that purpose and not political spending. But we'd be wrong again. The issue here is that the union entices you in with promises of collective power and a voice in your workplace. But all that really happens is that your money is forcibly taken to fund things that you have no say in, and you are left hung out to dry. In an article from the Americans for Fair Treatment, they went over the exact breakdown of what AFT spends their dues money on in that 2022-2023 fiscal year. We could go into the details of the breakdown, but the key highlights to point out here are that AFT spent almost $47 million on its political agenda, while President Randy Weingarten was paid over 8 times the average teacher salary, and less than 30% of their total revenue was spent on representational activities, also known as their actual job. Here at Freedom Foundation as a whole, we spend a lot of time talking about money, commenting on where it goes and why it goes there. But that's because $47 million being spent on political agendas that AFT's own members might not agree with, or worse, might not know of, that is important, and that needs to be discussed. This is the illusion of control that I'm talking about. How is it right that AFT promotes messaging about union members being in control and being the driving mechanism behind labor organizing, yet not disclosing that they are spending almost $50 million in partisan political activities behind their members' backs? The control that the union wants you to believe you have exists only on paper. This system simply isn't working. I've said that a million times, and I'll continue to say it. And while thankfully more people are getting wise to what's going on, many are unaware or even afraid. I've talked about retribution a little bit on previous episodes, but my goodness, there are stories upon stories upon stories of union members who want to leave their union, yet face real danger and targeting when they start to step out of line. That adds a whole other layer to this psychology of control discussion, and the biggest part of it that I want to hone in on is that root, the root of fear. People don't want to leave because they are afraid. They are afraid of losing what they think they have, and conversely are also afraid of what they might gain because they're going to gain targeting, possibly doxing, and a whole myriad of other things from the union in this retribution. How is that? How is that? The presence of unions today have figured out how to instill conflicting modes of fear in their members. You stay, you're afraid. You leave, you're also afraid. I've heard so many stories of workers who believe they'll lose their benefits and working conditions if they leave their union, so they stay. Or some rightfully believe that they will be attacked, doxxed, or threatened because they choose to leave, so they stay. Let me ask you this. What other American institution relies on striking fear into the hearts of their members to stay afloat? How has this been allowed to happen? To drive it all home for you, union leadership literally attacks its workers with messaging like this.
We are coming together to say, not on our watch.
Not because it was handed to you. Nothing is ever handed to you.
It is solidarity that reunites us. It is solidarity that keeps us.
We support access to good union jobs. So we will organize and we will mobilize.
The collective power.
Will workers practice radical solidarity?
We can do this work. We must do this work.
You made your voices heard. You demanded it.
And we are all in. We are the NEA. We are the NEA.
Solidarity is the antidote to white supremacy.
Workers stand in solidarity and use the collective power
to win all the things. NEA, we have to win all the things.
Freedom Foundation literally exists to help with this. Because if we lose the drive and grit of being able to do the hard stuff, America's core values are at risk. Embracing these tough tasks is literally embracing what it means to be American. Control gives the illusion of safety. Freedom gives the reality of responsibility. So the next time your union tries to sell you on the collective bargaining lie, or tries to convince you that by being under their control you're somehow actually free, then you know it's time to start asking these questions. The fight for tomorrow starts today. Unions may have started this battle, but we are here to finish it. This is the new Frontline. My name is Siena. Stay curious, and I'll see you next time.